All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 86.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
boy. So,
Get the good stuff going on here.
yeah, we had a few things happen last episode. For one, Rubinsky apparently is deathly ill. Okay.
Yep.
Talk of it being the curse of the Church of Terra.
Yeah, Ruintal's tryst with the one descendant of the Lichtenlad dynasty. Has landed her with Rubinsky's people.
Yes, and what's her face? Dominique is actually helping her out a bit, which is good.
Yeah, appearing to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And Reinhard might eventually go back to Odin, to go back home, with that little flashback of his sister helping him and stuff.
Sure would be a shame if something happened to like keep that from happening or something.
Yeah, but there's stuff he's got to do beforehand.
Right, there's always something.
Yeah. We had the funeral as well.
Yep, that was really good.
Episode.
Got closure for a lot of people.
Yeah. But the galaxy marches onward.
It does indeed.
With or without you, Reinhard.
Yeah.
So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. A new nation.
Yep, that's right.
A new nation formed, completely disconnected from any actual planetoid in this or sphere in this entire galaxy. This is a man-made construct that has decided we will champion the last remaining vestiges of Republican democracy. And
I am very excited for the name to become kind of awkward when it's more than just Iserlohn, and then they're like, but we call ourselves the Iserlohn Republic government. How does this How does this work? Do we change? Do we remove the Iserlohn part? Do we just call ourselves Republic Government? Or like...
It's very much, I would say, in making it safe. That was the reason why they decided to have it safe. But do you realize why? It's because they're not claiming anything else.
Nope. It's just we are here. We are this one little pocket of the universe.
So in some ways, it could never go beyond that. Like it might just stay like that forever, and there will be no territories or what have you, because that's based on the idea of conquest, or the idea of those places then liberating themselves, so to speak, of the Lohengram dynasty and pledging themselves to a
new regime,
to a fortress's democratic rule. Like no, it almost doesn't make sense. In a lot of ways, I really like this because they're basically saying, no, we don't necessarily need to fight you, but then almost at the very end of the whole thing, they're like, and die, Kaiser Reinhard! And it's like, God damn it, we were this close to greatness. I get it. Reinhard is the one that has such a beautiful mask and has all this magnificent power about him, and this is tied into the stuff with Boris Konev.
Oh yes,
just the idea that. Yes, why does he have to be so damn good at all this stuff that he does?
Yep.
Can't he just die already? And it's like...
Right.
He's going to eventually, but like...
Yes.
But it's trying to not get into war right now.
Exactly.
We're trying to survive this whole thing here.
Right. They start this new thing that's potentially a new turning point for the human race as a whole, and yes, democratic republic and all that. And then... all it takes is one person saying, death to Kaiser Reinhard, and then all of a sudden people are like, let's kill him, and it's like, no, they
didn't say let's kill him.
Well,
they wished him death.
Right, wished him death, so it's it could just be all in good fun, or it could just be like, yes, and just like that, we're back to where we started,
Well, okay, so the... summary of the episode being that we get to focus on Heinesen and all the developments happening there. We get to see how Ruental is setting up his infrastructure. which is good to see him delegating stuff. And then they're obviously foreshadowing some interesting connections with regards to which people that we've interacted with in the past are going to be involved in those positions of power within his infrastructure. But then we tie this into the Fezzan merchants who helped maneuver Julian around at times and also survived the chaos of the conquering of Fezzan from the Empire side of things. And now they see the Terrans, who are very much directly tied to
Trunit.
screw Trunit. Who gives a fuck about him?
Oh,
I'm talking about the actual
the new leader, Archbishop de Ville,
the devil, basically.
Right.
The one of the devil, you know.
Oh yeah. Just that shitbird, you know.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And I love that they could recognize him even without his cloak and hood and all that stuff. It's like, wait a minute.
That little shit.
That little shit. I think I know that guy.
That big bald shit there.
And as far as like ways that it makes me curious of what will happen in the future, right? I love it because the merchants, you know, are very much motivated because they were friends with Yang's, right? And people know that the Church of Terra was behind Yang's death, right? So if people are friends with Yang and they recognize somebody, they're going to be especially invested in trying to figure things out. But then there's the fact that de Ville might have been going to see Trunit, you know, or to reestablish connection with Trunit or something, you know, being around his old...
he's just always been hiding with Trunit.
Oh, well, Trunit wasn't on Heinesen for, you know, until recently.
Yeah, but Trunit's mansion has been here
this
whole time.
Yeah.
Who cares about where he's been?
Yep. This
is essentially with Trunit, no matter where he happens to be cockroaching himself.
Exactly.
He could have literally been under his mansion the whole time in tunnels.
Yep. When one cockroach needs to hide, it seeks out the home of another cockroach, right? It's very fitting.
Yeah. The bugs end up scurrying with each other to the same, you know, dung pile.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah.
And then there's the whole idea that could cause conflict within Ruenthal's, like, section of the galaxy, which could cause conflict in, you know, the Empire as a whole and things like that. And, okay.
Right. Because in the very beginning of the episode, we focused on the fact that because of the way that Reinhardt is choosing to handle this, the only thing that could really cause problems right now for the Empire at the, like, core level is nothing that comes from Iserlohn, but a division from within the Empire. And then immediately after that, we show, we're setting up some sort of a ruling class of sorts by having Ruenthal effectively be a military minister over a dominion of space. This sounds very much like if we just continued with the way of doing things, Ruenthal would be effectively a military noble kind of.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm sure Reinhardt will phase out Ruenthal's position.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to go to Ruenthal's kids or something.
Yeah, but
to bring it in the way that these kinds of systems works, Ruenthal elevated people that were already elevated within his status. He didn't go and recruit new people from the Alliance's citizens to help with the ruling.
Yeah, I think there was the odd one or two people that were like the technocrat guy or whatever and things like that. But yeah, it was very much like he used the people that he knew and
his military people.
Right, he knows their capabilities and then he gives them different positions, and then of course the people under him get frustrated when someone gets promoted and they feel, you know, essentially, and they feel like they deserve it more. But then when someone else gets equivalently demoted, right, they're like, oh well, that's no problem, you know. But yeah. Yeah,
I got the idea that this one here, the one who's the technocrat, is someone that was with the Empire, not an Alliance person.
Oh, okay.
Because he was Vice Admiral. He was, it's pure coincidence. Elshammer was the husband of High Admiral Lutz's younger sister.
Right. So it has the stink of
favoritism based on all connections and family, not based on anything to do with the
Even if
Alliance.
that's not actually what ended up happening.
Right,
but
and I just thought that this was a weird connection to make here, because it doesn't feel like what they're doing here with Bergengruen, which seems to have foreshadowing for future conflicts with regards to within Ruenthal's thing. This feels like it's foreshadowing of a grander galaxy-waste political type message of conflict, where it's the people that rule us do not represent us.
Sure.
And it's not even that they don't represent us. They might not even necessarily be the best people for the job. It's that they are being brought in by recommendations of those who are already in the extremely high political areas of power, like, well, Reinhardt. So for the most part, that's okay.
Yeah, that's been how Reinhardt's been doing things so far, and he's been doing a good job of it, even though it's not democratic.
Right, but also Ruenthal's, his biggest fan in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. So he does things the way he thinks, also in some ways that Reinhardt kind of
monkey see, monkey do. Yeah. So. Exactly.
And, all right.
But it's one of those things where in segments of episodes like this, where they're like, okay, we're setting up big time infrastructure for the world and then the galaxy and the show moving forward. You have to wonder how much of it is just like seeding plot conflicts, right? Well, and how much of it is like red herrings or things.
Well, they don't have to be like red herrings. They just be like world building to give us proper
immersion type stuff. Yeah,
but have nothing to do with conflict.
Right.
Yep. All stories, have some type of conflict to them.
Otherwise there would be no story.
But that doesn't mean that every character has to be directly tied to said conflict.
Yep, but it's just stuff that keeps us on our toes, right? It makes it so that
just makes us look at it.
Yeah. With the whole idea of, okay, this is the end of the third season and there's 24 episodes left.
Right.
All right. What are those 24 episodes going to look like? I love that we got the full OP to play once more before, what's probably was probably the last time that it played, Yeah,
that makes sense. And then we get a new song at the end. Murai being brought up as someone that they found out to be on Heinessen, but specifically there with a whole lot of other deserters and stuff. And then Murai being one of the ones who is in the higher officer kind of side of things. He'll have to register his name and fingerprints every month.
Check in and all that. Yeah.
This is going to be interesting because we saw a little bit of a version with that with Yang with the Alliance in some ways, but that was a little bit more extreme.
Yeah, that was like basically not quite, but almost house arrest and things like that.
So Ruenthal seems to be avoiding the potential revolution or uprising problem that he would get from the setup here, because he almost kind of learned, maybe indirectly, about how you should do this properly. So he gives all the soldiers and even the ones that deserted Yang that little bit of freedom, which is really
a big deal. Yeah.
It's a really big deal. But I wonder in some ways if this is like this is what Ruenthal as Kaiser would look like.
Yep.
Because if there's any division that happens in the Empire, it has to be where they get a new picture of, because division that's underneath Reinhardt, that happens probably constantly.
Sure, and little bickerings and squabbles.
Yeah, and it just gets squashed every once in a while before it gets too big. Mm-hmm. But if Ruenthal, who is second only to Reinhardt, gets into a position where people are like, I think we actually
King in
prefer,
the North.
Then we could have a King in the North type situation. That could be
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the return of Willock. I remember Marinesk, but then we actually have Konev here.
Yeah.
But doesn't this remind you in some ways of the history episode where we had the trio of friends?
Yeah. Yeah, because
history repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I was like, wait a minute, are they pulling the three friends that instigate a new nation? Because these guys could be the other arm of the Iserlohn Republic. Is that they're not forming something that attaches to the Iserlohn Republic, but they're another entity entirely that's and will ally with you.
Sure.
They form the merchants, the Free Merchants Association or something.
Yeah.
And they form a way of having more free economy stuff based outside of
you
what
get Fejan Prime and 2-day delivery,
No, but don't mock it. I'm serious. I think that they could legitimately form another entity that is not Iserlohn Republic and yet be connected with them via something.
So maybe to put it in a more serious way.
Yeah.
Fejan Fejon was something that came about as a result of there being a need in the galaxy, basically,
Yes.
right? So it would make sense that not necessarily Fejon exactly, but maybe some Fejon equivalent would pop up over time, right?
Yes.
Now, given the fact that all of
This
this...
is the new beginning of it.
Right, and I think this is the new beginning of it, and because the changes in the galaxy have been very quick, right?
Right.
With things getting totally turned on its head and all that stuff, people that still have the memories and the experiences and came from those worlds could very easily just be like, let's
do it again.
Let's do it again, you know?
Yeah, and things might move slower now because there's no war.
Sure.
But if you think about it in a meta standpoint, that could mean that we're due for a time skip.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
We might like really be due for a time skip because Julian's young, but they're talking about the whole thing of, your inexperience isn't necessarily like a bad thing.
Yeah, that conversation was really cool.
That conversation was really cool. Like, all it might take is really 5 years of each of them in their thankless jobs.
Yep.
Where Galaxy, just goes on and we have peace and
right.
a little bit of calmness, and Reinhardt kind of connects with who he is. And
sure. One of the
with
benefits
sister,
that they can get from the foundational infrastructure kind of stuff that they laid down in this episode is that if they do a time skip, whatever changes happen in the story won't feel like they came out of nowhere. Like, they could basically just say, yeah, 5 years passed, and the things that they introduce is like, this is the world that you have now. It wouldn't feel arbitrary. It'd be like, yep, okay, that was how things left off. We have 5 years. This is where we're at. Cool. 2 points, connect the dots, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to, but I almost feel like I'm preparing myself just in case it does, because I don't see any great conflicts coming about immediately, but maybe in the course of time being left with things to stay as they are.
Sure.
Meaning that the conflict comes about because nothing changes from where we're at right now.
Yeah. That could definitely be it. And given the fact that Boris Konev and them had the more immediate conflict of seeing that, the Church of Terra, Deville is right there. That's something that I would imagine would be pressing enough to be dealt with before a time skip. But theoretically, it wouldn't have to. But the main thing that I'm looking, like, I'm on keeping an eye out for is that since we're now going into the 4th and final season of Legend of the Galactic Heroes, right?
Left,
yeah, only 2 cores left. New OP, but also decline of Reinhardt, or not necessarily decline in like a super bad way, but the point in which Reinhardt will then phase out of the story, right? Because this is the Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I'm guessing that by the end of this series, Reinhardt will pass on the torch, however that ends up happening, whether it's through a violent decline or revolution, or he dies of sickness, or or he goes insane, or something like that. Who knows, right? Whatever it ends up being, that's then probably how Julian will be able to truly carry on the torch to the next generation, since he kind of represents that. And I'm curious how that would end up happening.
Yeah, that's been a pretty constant part of our discussions, though, and there was nothing new, really, with Reinhardt this episode.
Not really.
So I kind of am curious about what you think about things outside of Reinhardt's immediate kind of stuff, because I think that that's just kind of a thing we've assumed as a given.
But it might not actually be the case.
But it actually might not be anything that happens soon. That's why I'm suggesting a time skip, is that there's a possibility that Reinhardt just has 5 years or something. I use 5 years as an arbitrary number.
Right.
I don't have any specific reason to think it's 5 years. I'm meaning that 5 years is a nice kind of simple number to have lots of time pass and also no time pass at all.
Reinhardt manages to get the capital properly and securely and everything moved over to Fejon.
Yeah.
Everything's done, and then he goes back to Odin to meet his sister, and maybe that's like the beginning of the final season.
Of the new arc. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also because primarily Fejon having like the center of the galaxy being their spot there, and then Iserlohn conveniently being on the opposite side of it, that means that one of the wings needs to be clipped in order for the Empire to be broken down, which means the conflict is clearly being set up in Heinessen, because you have both Deville and Ruental, and then little Truden parasitically attached to both of them. And he's gonna snap. It's gonna be wonderful. But I want to see the fallout of that happen in some way that feels like there was thought and intention put into it, not just, oh, suddenly, you know.
Yeah, something that was inevitable.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Something, not something random.
Right.
So that's really exciting. And the fact that this episode was kind of the part 2, if you will, of the previous episode, which felt much more focused on Reinhard and Rubinsky.
And then this one more on
the alliance side of things with regards to forming the new nation.
Or the Iserlohn Republic, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, or as they're going to be nicknamed eventually, according to the narrator, they're just the new government in August, you know.
Right.
Which is like, oh, that's
okay.
That's
there
great.
You go.
Yeah.
That's a good
just
way
another
of describing
government.
it.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They have a kind of a national anthem of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I get the feeling that's kind of like saying like, don't worry, this is the final one. You know, like we're not getting another like El Facil revolutionary government or or anything like that. Like this is the final bit. This is the basket that you can bank on basically. And this will grow, and that's what we'll probably end the series with, even if the Empire's still around.
I want to throw out there the idea, though, that actually the reason that it probably won't last the show is because it's called the Iserlohn.
Well, I suppose it could take on a different name, but...
Well, right, but I could see very much if Reinhard dies, then... the emphasis on this being a galactic empire might also wane as well. And
then the 2 choke points of Fejon and Iserlohn become way more important. Yeah.
Well, not just that they become way more important, but there can be talks. Because Reinhard is the one that's like, I will have my vision of uniting the galaxy and stuff, and in some level that's very ambitious and wonderful, but even with 40 billion people, which is effectively a united galaxy.
Yep.
What was it, 700,000 or a million people?
I think it was 900,000 because there was like 6 and 300.
Yeah.
It was about 2 to 1 men to women.
Decided we'll have our own little thing.
With blackjack and hookers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means you really can't perfectly unite the galaxy.
Nope. And that would be very fitting if at the end of the series it resolved back to, even if it turned, maybe, like Iserlohn and then they managed to, I don't know, something happened, but then it's the 2 sides again.
See, I'm looking for more balance. I'm not looking for going back to conflict. I'm looking for peace.
Gotcha.
Because Reinhard won't do that.
Yeah, I would love to find that.
Right, and I think that's with Reinhard dying is then you can finally have peace.
Well, right.
Is that we don't need to conquer the galaxy. We just need to accept that, war of conquest isn't necessary in order to unite the galaxy.
So I'd push back on that a little bit. I think that one of the things that they were talking about here with how his ambition to crush Iserlohn and conquer it was mainly because Yang was there, and he doesn't really care about it too much now.
Yes.
I think that's an element of showing that Reinhard has grown, right? He has, and even before he actually defeated Yang, he ended up saying, "Hey, let's talk peace," right? Because he had started to learn that lesson.
Right, and it never came about, though.
Well, right, but not because of Reinhard's willingness, but because of external circumstances.
No, I know, but it's
Yang
still...
was killed and all of that.
But he still never went to go and do the talks.
No, they never did the talks, but they kind of have an equivalent in that Reinhard's decided to leave them alone, which is what they wanted in the first place.
They had an agreement to basically form like we won't bother you.
Right.
You're in your place there. But if you then start going, we're going to form our new government with Republican democracy, Kaiser Reinhard. Reinhard dies in some way, I could see many people on the Empire side of things being like,
oh, no, definitely.
You guys are responsible, obviously.
If Reinhard dies, for sure.
But I could see it
also...
Before
then, though, I don't know.
Right, I could see it also going the other way, though, which is that we need to actually think about bringing people together at the table, finally, for the first time ever.
Right.
And not just have it be, well, Reinhard has his dream and his goal, so he decides who enters the table here. But it's we get a round table, we bring, people in that represent all the peoples, and we actually sit down and have the the awkward part, which is
that would be,
how do we unite the galaxy?
That would be interesting. I get the feeling Reinhard
Yes,
might not be up for a round table.
That's why he would have to be dead. That's what I said, is that wouldn't happen until Reinhard would be dead.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The way I would see it happening is that he goes back to Odin and visits with his sister. And once that happens, then pretty much theoretically anything is on the table. And if
that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. That could be anytime before he dies, right?
Well, that if he were to do that, and then things were to change, he would be alive at that point and something would be happening. But
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay. All right. Interesting. So then we have the final just hurrah of getting everyone together and having these characters that are woefully unremarkable in the terms of the of the conversation of sorts with
the comparison to Heinesen.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And yet they've done it. They're going to form this nation. Yep. They did form the basic, foundation.
We got something
bit for it here.
Yeah.
And while Frederica and Julian are not ready to bear this burden, the weight of Republican democracy,
right?
They're all going to put in their best foot, if you will, to make this happen. So, having a little quiet conversation with Yang and Julian, they're kind of showing that, well, Yang, the manual might not be something that you can rely on constantly, but those memories are still there. And then also the moment where Katharina...
Katarose.
Katarose, von Kreutzer. Is that her name?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yep. Katarose.
Yeah, Katarose, yeah. Has this really sweet conversation, kind of questioning the greatness, if you will, of Yang with Frederica, and Frederica's like, no, you can just wait and see. Wait and see. And that kind of wait and see approach for someone who sees himself as inexperienced and not capable of all this stuff, well, maybe you can apply that here and be like, hey,
cut yourself some slack.
Cut yourself some slack. There are people out there who believe in you.
Right.
And they're also willing to wait and see. We don't need...
Which is saying
something. We don't
something.
need to have ourselves proven, or we don't need to have you be proven in our eyes before we've seen what you can do actually when put to the test. So, okay, let's see him get put to the test. Let's
Hopefully
see him deal
not for a while.
Well, it could be a while, but the idea that the war is over, but those that seek for humanity to remain out of peace, like the Church of Terra, they're still out there, and they're going to rear their ugly heads eventually. So you'll find...
Get a good shoe.
Yeah, exactly. Get a good grip on things, lean on those next to you, and accept your insufficiencies. It's going to be okay. Yeah, it's going to be okay. But,
okay.
Yeah, really cool. I loved seeing also a bunch of the characters that were just kind of montaged through when they were doing the whole, formation of the new government and stuff, and seeing like Bagdash and stuff, and just being like, whoa, like we got everybody here. And then we knew that Murai was the one that took most of the deserters and stuff, but it's a cool reminder of like, wow, we actually still do have a lot of people that are in our crew here. They're still all in on this.
Yeah.
And those are people that are here not just because Yang was such a great guy or something. They're here because they're like, no, we're building something that's bigger than Yang, and bigger than you, Julian or Frederica.
Yep.
So that's special. That means something. But
Okay. Onward to part 4.
Part 4, new OP. New ED.
And final season.
We
are actually going to finish this series, Caleb.
Could you see them theoretically having the time skip maybe actually after this next cour? And that it's more of like, this is a show that's so big, you need like a cour's worth of epilogue,
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
Because it feels like, to me, the Church of Terra is the final boss. And Adrian Dravinsky is the other aspect of that, being the final boss. So, okay.
Yeah.
what really is there left, though, in the story outside of that?
I want to see Reinhard and Julian have a conversation at a table together.
I so want to see that too.
I want to see that. In addition to seeing Reinhard and his sister have a conversation.
Yeah, that's I want that even more.
I want Reinhard and his sister to have a conversation. I want to see Reinhard visit Kierheiss's grave and actually talk to him when it's not just with his fucking pendant locket thing with the hair.
I don't know if that might be asking.
I want to see Reinhard go to the grave. He talks to his sister. He goes to the grave and he leaves the locket there. That's what I want.
I expect Reinhard to be buried next to Kierheiss, and that's the only time he's gonna come back to his grave.
Depends on how happy of an ending we're gonna get with him, I guess.
Yeah. My other thing that I would really love to see is I would love to see Ruined Hall. I'd love to see Ruined Hall like roil and coil and fight and rise up in some way.
Yeah, because Ruined Hall has been constantly built up as like the will he betray Reinhard, right? You know, and Reinhard even said, you know, if you think you can do a better job, then try and take me out. But recently I feel like it's taken more of the angle of Ruined Hall might just be Reinhard's successor. You know, like he's almost like he's Reinhard's true protege, you know.
That would be impressive. I do think that on some level, though, I want Ruined Hall to be offered it all and to turn it down.
Yes.
I don't want him to actually take control.
Nope, me neither.
I want him to have learned basically that it's not about having the grand golden god, and that he's like, in some ways, the reason why I can't do it is because I'm not you, but also the reason why I can't do it is because no one should have this. That would be a really cool like moment as well.
I would love to see Ruintal get to the point where he accepts the idea of being a dad.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There's some obstacles there.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like if there's a path to long-term stability for Ruintal, I feel like that's it. Yes. How the hell he'll get there,
Finally
I don't
listens
know.
to Mittermeier.
Yeah, exactly, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.